What I found in my career is at certain times when you think things are going bad, a lot of times right around the corner, something amazing is going to happen. If I'm on the microscope of life, I might miss out. If I zoom out, things might play out a little different. So just keep going and follow what you think is the right thing to do. Hey, what's up? This is Rob Kinelski. I'm a mix engineer. Welcome to my studio here in Los Angeles. From the early age, I played music and I was in a band. I took it pretty serious, and I remember going to the studio for the first time. We were at the studio in Philadelphia, a legendary studio called Sigma Sound. A bit of an inspiration for me. I saw the whole process go down. We were in a real console in a real room with mics and recorded the tape, and I instantly was drawn to it. I just liked the ability to manipulate things in a speaker. So after the band broke up, I realized that I want to go solo, not as an artist, but I wanted to start working behind the board. So I went to audio school. The original goal was for me to become a producer. I wanted to produce records instead of being a band. And then just following opportunities throughout the years led me to here. And now I'm a mix engineer. And I love it. I love being a part of the process. I love working on lots of different styles of music and working with different artists and just being attached to so many different things I really enjoy. I'm grateful for that. My relationship to sound is just, nothing is worse than hearing an amazing song from like a different time and you wish it sounded better in your speakers. You know, I think maybe I'm a bit of a control freak. Maybe that's what, I don't know. Maybe that's what got me into it at first, wishing that this certain record sounded better, or maybe a certain way I thought it should sound, you know. Maybe that was what sparked the interest. But today my main goal is just to help the artists get to where they want to go, you know. I think this is a service industry, so I try to do it like that. I wake up in the morning pretty early, and I usually start with meditation. That's a practice I've been doing for years to get my day started. And I try to wake up before my family. I try to get everything ready. I take care of myself before I get to be dad. And it's a really normal kind of morning, like chaotic with little children, you know, getting them ready and get them all sorted. And then finally everyone's at school. It's like, okay, let's mix. That's when I have the second cup of coffee. So it's hectic, but it's good. It's good. I find that my ears work the best in the morning. Some days I don't talk to anybody or anything until I start. It's great, you know, because it's just get right into it. On the weekends, sometimes I don't really work on the weekends, but sometimes I'll get up really early and really want to do something. So I'll get in here and I'll be like, okay. And I feel like I work faster. I like to work fast in a way, not that I'm cutting corners, but just faster than the time to analyze something, right? Because I do think your first instinct is often like the right one, but not too fast where you're like missing things, you know, like there's a balance between fast, reckless and fast, effective. But yeah, it shouldn't take too long. That's the thing. When I started, I would spend 3 days on one mix, and for what? I don't know. What was I really looking for? You know, some of the biggest songs I mix in like a very quick amount of time. It's a deadline. It was like hey, can you mix this real quick? I'm like, sure. And I do it. And then it was a big song. So there's no real way to really break it down. Yeah, I try not to overthink it. People often ask me why I use Amphion. And what I find with the speakers is they're really honest. They won't tell me something sounds good if it doesn't. You know, and then if it does sound good, it sounds good. It's a very like honest monitor where I really feel like I hear what's happening. If the mix isn't dancing, the speakers are not going to dance. Like it's just not going to. So I think sometimes you get into the world of some monitors where the speakers sound so good, you maybe finish the mix too soon because it sounds so good, and then you go somewhere else and you're like, oh, I don't know. But they translate really well everywhere I go, and they look cool too. I have a bunch of them in here, so. It's a small company. It's a family business, and it's a real intimate experience I have with them. So it's really nice to have someone I can call and talk to. That's something that I think is priceless. My last studio, I didn't have the space for it. So now when we put this one together, we have the room. So yeah, we're set up in here. We're immersing ourselves in sound, and it's cool to be able to do the stereo and Atmos version. You know, it's nice to be a part of both parts. So the immersive experience has been really straightforward and pretty easy transition. It's still fairly new technology. You know, it hasn't been around for decades. There's a lot of open room for experimentation and finding what works for you. And I'm finding different people have different styles. And, you know, my style right now is just once again, it's kind of like doing an immersive mix without really noticing that it's an immersive mix. Like I don't want to, sometimes I think it can get distracting. So my approach is always like, how do I become lost in the song, not distracted by it, which can easily happen. What I like with the Amphion is once again, it's just honest and balanced, and I'm hearing what I'm supposed to hear. It's been an easy transition, actually. I think headphones are a good place to hear low end. I think listening quiet is also good. I use a lot of filters. I like to filter out low end. Doesn't need to be there. A lot of instruments have low frequencies that don't need to be there. And I find that when I get rid of that, I can make the mix louder. I can clear it up, and then the low end becomes more focused. Sometimes the low end feels low because the treble's too high. It's like one of those things. A lot of times, maybe you think that the snare's too low, but maybe it's just the kick is too loud. There's a lot of like little things sometimes I have to pull back and ask myself with the relations of the mix, like what's really happening. I get a lot of these questions of like, what do you do to like bring out the emotion? And I, to be honest with you, I don't think about it at all. I just get in there and let the song speak. And then I try to do what I can. I try to bring an element of taste to it and where I'm hearing the rhythm go of it. When I don't notice a mix anymore and I just feel the song, then I feel like it's done. So it's not a lot of, like analytical things happening. It's the feeling of, okay, this feels good to me. This feels like done. It's not very calculated. So it's kind of a freeform, freestyle. So let's see what happens kind of approach. I get asked a lot about, my vocal treatment and a lot of times maybe it's on the drier side. Sometimes that I hear and I get asked like why and all that. A lot of times it's not really a decision I made. A lot of times it's the producer's decision that's been made. But I think a lot of people are listening to music in headphones and people want that real intimate experience. So I think not so much of me inserting my style, but it's a cool contrast sometimes, even for wet instrumental with a dry vocal or vice versa. So just making that all feel as one thing, I think is the approach. There is a moment at every point where I might get surgical and I'm focusing on one thing. Once that's happening, once I get the job done there, I like to stop and take a break and then come back to it because it's a song. And I don't want to sit there and do surgery and forget the purpose. We'll often focus on one frequency on one instrument for way too long. And then, in 2 years, 3 years later, you hear the song on the radio or somewhere and you're like, what was I worried about? Like, why was I? So it's like a lot of times irrelevant. So I try not to fall into those rabbit holes or get stuck in them because I think a lot of times we can get stuck in the microscope. And I think it's important to zoom out. The microscope is good, but not for too long. Like I don't want to look in the microscope and you see like those pictures of like the bacteria. Like I don't want to see that stuff. I'll just pretend it's not there. Music coming out of a speaker as a rhythmic thing. So for me, I'm always trying to find that balance, that like the groove of it. My body's moving without me making it move. Like that's kind of like the goal for me. And then when I get into like the detail of it, I try to like just really be present for what's happening in front of me. And if the moment I stop thinking about the mix and I'm just like in the song, I feel like we're pretty much in a good place. I try not to overanalyze it. I try to go off just feelings and when it feels good to me. And if something's bothering me, I might take it out. Like if it's a frequency that's bothering me, I might do that. But I don't do a lot of like adding. It's just more of like, I feel like a lot of times everything is there. So yeah, I just try to like, when I get to a place where I'm not really noticing that it's a mix, then I feel it's done to me. I'm really grateful to like be able to do this. This is like a dream job. I worked really hard to get here, but then just following opportunities the whole time and just following an open door and continuously and pushing hard and give it my all in every element of my career from when I was a runner to here today. It's so exciting to see when I look back, like how far I've come from where I began. And I think that is motivating. If I start comparing myself to somebody else, then I'm in trouble. But if I like compare myself to me, I can get a healthy perspective on like, okay, things are going good. I'm ready to keep going. I also just love doing this and I love working on different kinds of music. Nothing is better than watching an artist blossom, when they're brand new and then watch them blow up. Like there's nothing better than that. Being a part of it early is just such a gift to witness. That right there is like enough of a reason. And the other thing too is I never know who that artist is going to be. I never know. I don't have a crystal ball. Sometimes you think something's going to be huge and then it doesn't go where you think it's going to. And then sometimes you're completely surprised. When I think about my career and the things that I did right, I always tell people, be the best at the job you have. If you're a runner, be the best runner you've ever seen. Don't try to be the assistant engineer. You'll have a chance for that. Be the best runner. So when they need a new assistant engineer, they're like, get that person who's like the best runner. It's their turn. Early on, I would work on big sessions. And the only reason I got called back in the beginning was because I got the food order right. And I was not weird. I was cool and I was quiet and I was helpful and I had a good attitude. And I think that alone like carries very far into your career. And I think for me, reminding myself that, once again, I said earlier, this is service and the more I can be of service to the client or the artist or the producer or the label, like how can I help? That's the approach. And I think if anyone could take that approach, that's the way to go. Just keep your relationships healthy with people, and don't burn bridges. And, sometimes things will go away you don't want to, and some people will blow up on that and some people don't. And it's better not to blow up on it because like, once again, here we go back to the microscope. If you treat this like it's the service industry, it's like, I don't need to like force you into my opinion. As a mixer. If you want it, I'll give it to you. If you don't, that's fine. I'll be quiet. Because at the end of the day, it's the artist's name on the album and the big letters on the front of the album. My name is very small print, if it's even on the print on the album. So how can I help? Really is like the best advice I'd give somebody. If you take that approach. We're going to go back and talk to the young version of me. I'd say just keep going. At certain times when you think things are going bad, a lot of times right around the corner, something amazing is going to happen. So you just keep going, because you don't know what's going to happen. And just like I was saying earlier, if I'm on the microscope of life, I might miss out. If I zoom out, things might play out a little different. So just keep going and follow what you think is the right thing to do. And then once you make a decision, that's your decision. Like stick with it. That's the decision. And let's see how it unfolds. Some days you get those mixes where it's like, oh, this is going to take some work, or like, oh, I know where this can go. And you get to go in and it's like clear my schedule. This is the focus of the day. That's fun to get lost in it and really dig in and have to work really hard for something. I enjoy that. Some days you wake up and you're like, oh, how am I going to get through it? Because it's just, that's the thing about this business is every day you got to be on. So, I'm a human. So like there's some days you get up and you're like, oh, but a lot of times I just turned to Eli, my assistant, and he's just like, just do it. I'm like, okay, you're right. I'm not trying to have a Nike endorsement, but just do the mix, dude. It's like, because I'll sit there and I'm like, oh, I'm tired. Okay, just do it. And a lot of times those are the best mixes when I'm just like, okay, let me just do it. What I've been into lately is doing less things. You can get a lot done with one plugin. Like that's kind of the thing. It's easy to just slap a new plugin on every 2 seconds. I try not to do that. I try to, like, you can do a lot with a fader. You can do a lot with just a simple EQ. Like you can do a lot with just a little bit of leveling, so that is kind of my normal approach, but I'm even trying to get more simple. Just really like what is happening here. If I'm struggling on a mix and I can't seem to get it right, a lot of times I find myself maybe trying to make it something it's not. There's so much you can do in a mix. Maybe something in the production that I'm hearing that I wish was different. So like maybe that's why I want the mix to do this and it isn't. So I just try to like once again zoom out and like, okay, what are they trying to do? What's the reference speaking about? Okay, because maybe I'm not hearing this the right way. Maybe I'll take a break. Maybe I'll go take a walk. Maybe I'll switch to a different song. But really trying not to be too attached to it and doing my best, but not trying to force something into something. And I'm thinking about getting a ping pong table for the studio. That's on my to-do list. Because we used to do that in the studio, take a ping pong break. I think I need to bring that back into life, back into the world. But just fresh air. Just get outside, We have windows here, but it's not the same. So I try to get outside, take a walk. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching today. Appreciate it.